Welcome everyone. My name is Lorna Gilmore, and this is a presentation to welcome families to the Issaquah School District, families that will have a kindergartner in our school system next year, 2022-2023 school year. I am a family partnership specialist with the Issaquah School District, and what that means is that I support families, especially families that are culturally and linguistically diverse, to better understand and navigate our school system. I am also in the role of a TOSA. I work in the school administration building. I also do, as a TOSA, I do cultural competency, cultural awareness training for staff in the district to help them better understand supports needed for culturally and linguistically diverse families and students. With me, I have Lori Shimutsu and Susie. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and I'll also introduce Alicia Spinner and Stacy Cho.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Lori Shimizu. I am also a TOSA for the school district. I work and support our preschool and kindergarten programs. And I was also a longtime kindergarten teacher back in Hawaii, where I'm from, and here in Issaquah. And Lorna, I just have to give her a shout out. She is an amazing support to families. And in our presentation tonight, she just covers a lot of wonderings that you might have. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lori. Susie?
Hi, I am Susie Amane. I am the admin assistant for the equity department, and I support Elena Sivadosan and Alorna in all their adventures.
Thank you, Susie. Very important, helpful person in our department. Thank you. Stacy?
Hello, I'm Stacy Cho. I am the Director of Early Learning for our district, and I'm here to talk a little bit later just about our preschool programs we have in the district.
Thank you, Stacy. Alicia?
Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Spinner, and I work for the Issaquah School Foundation. I manage a program that is called Cultural Bridges, and we help the diverse community, and we have a magazine that we publish in 7 different languages. I will put the link of the magazine in the chat for you to be able to see it. It's in 7 languages, and it has a lot of good information about the schools.
Thank you, Alicia. So a reminder again that this presentation will be recorded. So please mute yourself and turn off your camera if you don't want to appear in the recording. This recording will also be posted on the Issaquah School District Family and Cultural Partnership website, and I'll show you where that is located or will be located later on. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. We will answer questions as possible, and if we really need to address it at that moment, or if they can be answered at the end of the session. So either be in the moment or at the end of the session. This slideshow is pretty long. We have 41 slides, so please hang in there with me. One of the feedbacks we get is this presentation is very helpful to you as a parent of an incoming kindergarten child, especially since you may be unfamiliar with the school system. However, very often parents feel very overwhelmed. So the intention is not to overwhelm you, but there is a lot of information. So please, no worries. Listen and grasp what you can, knowing that we will also be posting this presentation on the website, so you can refer to this and hear me over and over again at your leisure whenever you want. Okay, so we will try to cover as much information as possible so that you are as prepared as you want to be or can be in September. And just FYI, as a parent of a kindergartner who I never attended school in elementary school in this country, despite the fact that I had been a teacher in Issaquah School District and also a high school teacher for 5 years. So when my child started kindergarten in Issaquah at Sunset, it was very overwhelming and new to me because I'd only attended middle and high school in the United States, and I was a middle and high school teacher in the United States. So elementary school system was very different. So I feel that this presentation is important because it is so different, especially so different than the school system in India. And I know in talking to many parents, the school system in many other countries. So we have a welcome to parents to help recognize that we have over 82 languages spoken in our district, and we have at least 25, 26 languages that are the preferred languages of families. So as much as possible, as Alicia mentioned, we try to do several translations, especially Chinese and Spanish, and we try to provide translations in other languages. Or if you want to read information in other languages, we make sure that it's accessible by having the Google Translate on the website, and our newsletters, the district newsletter and the school newsletters are all translatable. And also documents shared by teachers can be translated using the word translate or other translate features. Also, we have lots of interpreters that we can hire in case families need to have some communication in their preferred language of communication. So the Cultural and Family Partnership Team works with the schools, and our role is to really support parents as they're supporting their children. We recognize that you as a parent are a partner in the education of our children. So each school has someone called a family partnership liaison. At the end of the presentation, if you have questions, if you have not registered next year and the following years, if you have questions, the family partnership specialist is a great resource for you, because that person, the liaisons, can help you better understand and answer questions regarding the school system. So you can find their information under the link of Family Liaison. We have 3 family liaisons. We have Liliana Medina, who also speaks Spanish, and she serves mainly these schools: Sunset, Issaquah Valley, Clark. Wenli Mital, who also speaks Chinese, and she is currently doing the Chinese session, and she serves many elementary schools, including Cedar Trails, Cascade Ridge, Challenger, Creekside, Discovery, Endeavor, and Sunny Hills. And then we have family liaison who serves the Liberty feeder pattern, Ina Gangurdi, who speaks Hindi and Marathi, and she works at Apollo, Briarwood, Cougar Ridge, Grand Ridge, Maple Hills, and Newcastle. So these liaisons can really help you answer questions, and their information will be posted at the end of the website of this presentation and on the website. So if you have follow-up questions between now and August, feel free to reach out to them and ask them for help. So one of the reasons we do this is, since I started working in the Issaquah School District in 2001, I myself have noticed, and the data also shows, that the school district has changed considerably. When I started working in the Issaquah School District as a science teacher at Issaquah Middle School, only about 86% of our students identified as white. And we had about 14% students from Asia, Hispanic, may identify as Black, African American, or any other biracial students as such. But now we've noticed that we are approximately 50-50. Sometimes we're at some schools, it's 46, 47, 48% students that identify as white, and other students, the 50+ students identify as Asian, or Hispanic, Black, Pacific Islander, and such. So we have really increased, the district has really increased the diverse communities that we are serving. Also, if you look at the data for the city of Issaquah, you'll see that the city of Issaquah, Sammamish, Morse Island, Bellevue, if you look at their data, it'll show that nearly 26% of the residents in those cities and communities were foreign born. So they were not born in the United States. So that tells us also that those families are not as familiar with the US school system if they did not attend schools in the United States. So the Family Partnership Team is part of the Equity Department, and we work to ensure that all families can navigate the US public school system and have access to resources in the district. So not just our culturally and linguistically diverse families, but all families, all our white families, all the different families that we serve in our district, all 20,000 students. So if you have already registered, wonderful. If you have not registered so far, no worries, you can still register. Registration to kindergarten is open throughout the year. So we have a kindergarten registration page, and some of the main things you'll see on that page is you will note. So to get to that page, you're going to go to the elementary school programs, and under the elementary school programs, you will see kindergarten registration. And all the information is over here. So you can visit the new student enrollment site to start registering. You're going to have to create kind of an account. It's a family access thing, and then they will send you a password, but all of that, they will walk you through the steps of new student enrollment once you go to this link to register. So if this is your first child in kindergarten, you're going to begin as a new student information, and there's a lot of information available. One of the things to note, to start kindergarten next year, your child needs to be 5 before August 31st, 2022. Okay, that's the main one. And if your child is not 5 before August 31st, 2022, you will need to fill out application and fill out the forms, the work needed to be done to have your child accepted in the early entrance to kindergarten. And so you'll need to complete some forms and some application and then get permission to do that. And we'll talk more about that later. Also, you will have some required documents that you will need to complete for registration. So as I said, the new student enrollment site is over here. The couple important things to note. You will need to register your child for kindergarten between now until sometime in August. If you register your child in August, then you will not have to complete an enrollment verification process, which will have all of the questions part of your registration. For those families who registered for kindergarten starting on February 1st up until August, they will also have to do something called EVP, Enrollment Verification Process, in August. Just a note, you have to do this every single year your child is in the Issaquah School District. And the reason being is sometimes parents register for their child through the course of the year, and then starting in August, maybe they move, maybe something happens, they change their mind about which school they want their child to attend. So right before school starts in August, we have the verification process. Same thing for students. For example, I have a child in 4th grade and a child in 8th grade. My children are going to be in 5th and 9th grade next year. And even though they've been in the school system for years, in August, I too will have to complete the EVP process just to show the school that I haven't changed my mind. I still live in Issaquah. I'm still, my children are still going to attend school starting for the 2022-2023 school year. Also, it's a great opportunity for you to look at all your information and records, such as your the health records for your children, the telephone numbers, the emergency information you gave, even your address, because sometimes those things change through the course of the year. Now, in the Issaquah School System District, one of the other things to note is that most of the registration is online. There will be a few documents that you might have to turn in person, but most of them nowadays can be scanned and sent in electronically, but there are a couple pieces where the school might still need to verify your identity and so forth. So when you have submitted your online application, the school registrar will email you with more information that you might need. And then the registrar will email this to the Guardian 1 to request the documents. So that's one of the things to note, who you have listed in Family Access as Family 1 and Family 2. If you have a split family. So the Family 1, Guardian 1, is the one who receives all of these emails and the main information from the school. Once the application has been approved, you will receive an automated email from the district with confirmation that you have been registered and confirm your registration in the school year of the school. And then email or call the school registrar with any questions that you might have. If you have any other questions or need help with the registration process, please don't hesitate to call a family partnership liaison, and they can also help you with an interpreter if you need it. And just a reminder again, the enrollment verification process, if you've already registered for the school year, you will still have to complete this enrollment verification process in August. Very often families get confused about that, especially the kindergarten families. So the school calendar and timeline. The first day of school for your child will be Friday, September 2nd. And that's wonderful because your child has that one day to go to school, just see what's going on, meet the teacher, be in the classroom, and just kind of learn some of the basics before they start the week, that next week, which is actually right before a 4-day weekend, a 3-day weekend, sorry, 3-day weekend for Labor Day. However, note, and this might be a disconnect for you, all other students, 1st grade through 12th grade, they start school on August 30th. So there's a 3-day difference between the first day of school for students in grades 1 through 12 and your kindergartner. Okay, so there is a disconnect. In addition, there is something called Family Connections meetings that you will be having with your child's kindergarten teacher before that first day of school, September 2nd. It's the first 3 days of school, and the school will contact you regarding your appointment day and time, and you will meet with, the teacher will meet with each family separately. This is very important, a meeting, because it's a chance to really meet and connect with the teacher to find out more about the parents, about the child, how to best support you as a family. Some schools will do their screeners at that time, but this is a very important meeting. So it's really important and critical that each parent has an opportunity to go through this. Lori is going to talk more about the Meet the Teacher event on August 31st, which is different than the Family Connections meeting.
Yes, and as a kindergarten teacher, I really value those family connection meeting days where we can sit down and talk with each family individually. And again, if you would like to have an interpreter, we're more than happy to provide that for you. And we have another event, it's a really fun one called Meet the Teacher on August 35th. This is a school-wide event, so all of the families are invited. And sometimes parents think, oh, I'm already gonna go to Family Connection, so I don't have to go to Meet the Teacher. But I would really encourage you to attend Meet the Teacher. There's a different energy and excitement. All of the kids come to school, they come to see their classroom, see their friends, which they absolutely love, and they get to drop off their school supplies. So that's a good time for you to bring in your big bags of school supplies and carry it into the classroom to drop those off. If you're not ready to drop off school supplies at Meet the Teacher, then feel welcome to bring them in at Family Connections meeting. Just make sure to bring it in before the first day of school, so your little kindergartner isn't showing up on their first day with big bags of supplies. And yeah, we just really hope that you can make it to that.
Thank you so much, Lori. Yes, and so the supply lists will be out sometime in August, and so you will find them on the school's websites, and they have usually a good list on, you'll be able to find the items at Target, Fred Meyer's, or whichever, buy it on Amazon, wherever. But there is quite a detailed list of items that you need to bring, and so Meet the Teacher is a good time to drop them. And also Meet the Teacher is a good time to put them in your child's desk. Your teachers have well prepared the classroom, and we'll show you photos of where the children will keep their own personal school supplies. And so it's a good time to drop those personal school supplies in their space in the classroom.
And each school has a school supply list that looks a little different. So if you have a friend going to a different school, their supply list might look different than yours.
Thank you. And next, school attendance maps. In the Issaquah School District and in most of Washington State, the schools are divided into districts, and districts are based on your home address. So students attend school based on their address. And so there have been times that students might live, a block from each other, or sometimes even across the street from each other, and they might be going to different schools. So it's important for you to know which school you will be attending based on your address. So you can either ask your neighbors right next to you, or if you're unsure, the school district has attendance maps that you can use, to find this information. So let's say you're trying to find out if you will be attending Sunset Elementary School. You can click on the Sunset Elementary School and it shows you the map of where all are the families that go to Sunset Elementary School would live. So you can kind of see that, you know, right here, there's a line. So children from here on down go to Sunset, and then usually on this side is Cougar Ridge or whatever other school it might be. If you move, you will have to check your attendance map. And if you move outside the boundary of your elementary school or middle school or high school in the next few years, you will then be asked to move schools. And yes, you will be asked to move schools in, you know, April, May, or June. So it is something that happens when you move, when your address changes, you are then expected to attend the school within your attendance map. And this is for the public schools. This is for all of Issaquah School District schools. And this is a big question that parents ask. Well, what if I register, enrolled at Discovery, but over the summer, I move and now my address is Sunny Hills? The answer is you will then let the school know that you've changed your address, and then you'll be asked to go to Sunny Hills. And the school sometimes will check, or if they do check, they will ask you to move immediately to that other school. And part of it is because of capacity, and not all, many of our schools are at capacity, and so it's important that kids go to the school within their attendance map area. Also, whatever school your child is attending, note that we will often use something called a feeder pattern, the word feeder pattern. And a feeder pattern is specific elementary schools then go to a specific high school. Then certain high schools, those kids then all go to the same, middle school, then all go to the same high school. So for example, my child attends Sunset. So my child, when she is in 6th grade, will then go to Issaquah Middle. And then after Issaquah Middle, in 9th grade, she'll attend Issaquah High School. Now, I have some friends who live in Cascade Ridge, and their children will then go to Beaver Lake. And then after Beaver Lake, they will go to Skyline. So that is your feeder pattern. So very often you will hear that word feeder pattern. So note that's what I'm referring to. Some elementary schools, they split their boundaries. So Issaquah Valley, 30% of the students will eventually go to Cougar Mountain, and about 70% of the kids will go to Issaquah Middle, but those kids will then eventually meet up at Issaquah High School. But so some schools, the boundaries are a little bit split up for middle school, and then they go into the high school. So just again, a reminder that all students who live within the Issaquah School District school boundaries, they're eligible to enroll in an ISD school within their boundary if they turn 5 by August 31st. So very often some families are concerned, what if my child does not get accepted into an Issaquah school, or into Discovery Elementary, or into Creekside? The answer is, do you live within the Discovery or Creekside school boundary? If the answer is yes, and your child is 5 years old, then boom, you're accepted into Creekside and Discovery. So this is not an application that you will be rejected. Okay, so as long as your child is 5 and you live in the school boundary, you are eligible to attend that school. So the registration and the screeners are not to weed children out. All children are accepted based on this criteria. Early entrance. Now, very often we have families who want to have their child start before they turn 5. So a child must be 5 years of age before November 30th to be possibly be looking at the early entrance into kindergarten possibility. Those children who are considering that, the early entrance assessment will be performed by professional and submitted. They should have the assessment performed and submitted by July 15th. Oop, this is a typo. It should be 2022. Okay. The child must meet all standards in the 7 categories. And the 7 categories are the mental ability, the gross motor skills, fine motor, visual discrimination, auditory discrimination, emotional and social development, and language development. Then in September, there's a 30-day trial period in kindergarten, and that during that period, the principal and the classroom teacher will determine if that child can then stay in kindergarten beyond September. And if the teacher or the principal say that, there are some concerns, they can say, your child will have to withdraw from kindergarten and wait till next year. So it's two parts. And by the way, the parent is responsible for doing the early entrance assessment. The school district does not test the children for this, but the school district will give you recommended or acceptable places to have your child tested. So the ISD can accept a child into first grade who is younger than 6 years old by August 31st if one of these two conditions are met. So those are the two conditions also. If you need more information about that, when I send you the PowerPoint, you can read more details about that. And also it has the early childhood person who you can contact to find out more information for this. Now, the Issaquah School District kindergarten program, there are two options. There's a full day option. Again, both of these are free. So there's a full day option and then there's a half day option. So the Issaquah School District offers a full day kindergarten at no cost to all students. And the kindergarten follows the same bell time as the rest of the students in grades 1 through 5. So all of the kids in that elementary school. At most schools begin at 9:15 a.m. and ends at 3:40 p.m. At all schools, if you live within walking distance, you're going to walk, but if you live within transportation distance, then you will ride the same school bus as students in grades 1 through 5. The child will have the same teacher and classroom all day, except for what's called a specialist class. And I know when I was, my child started kindergarten, I was like, what is a specialist class? Someone special like therapy or something, but a specialist is really just what they refer to for the PE teacher, the music teacher, the library. Then the students who have ELL service or special education services, those programs are very often integrated in the classroom. And basically that's an additional teacher. Sometimes some of those programs, depending on the school, may also have pull-out services. So sometimes it's pull-out or push-in, which means that the teacher will come to the class. Special education, we still have some pull-out services. So what it means though is that either there's an additional teacher in the class or your child might work with another teacher outside the classroom in smaller groups to best suit the needs of what your child needs to have to be successful at school. Lauren?
So you do also have an option to attend half-day kindergarten. Not too many families choose this option, but usually there's maybe 2 or 3 in an entire grade level that opt in for half-day. So just know that if you choose that this might be something appropriate for your child, they will miss out on some of their instruction. They will get all their core instruction in the morning. So they'll have reading, writing, and math, but they will leave before lunch. So they won't be having lunch in the cafeteria and they won't attend any of those fun specialist classes that Lorna mentioned. So most likely they wouldn't be able to attend PE. And PE is one of the favorites for the kids where they get to run around and play and exercise. And they would likely miss out on music and possibly library. And then in the afternoon, oftentimes there's social studies, science, and purposeful playtime. So all kindergarten classrooms have an hour of playtime in the afternoons, and it's called purposeful play. Sometimes they call it choice time. And so there's no half-day PM option. So if you're doing half-day, it would be 3 hours in the morning. So students will start at the same time. They can ride the bus to school, but there's no bus transportation for half-day kids going home. You would have to pick your child up from school.
Thank you, Lori. So we had a couple questions. One of them is full day kindergarten is all full day. Also, it is 5 days a week. So it's Monday through Friday, 9:15 to 3:40. Also, someone asked me about ELL. ELL services is English language learner services for those families, for those students who English might not be their preferred language. or they might still need additional support in learning English so that they are at the level of their peers in their English reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills. It's all 4. Okay. The dual language program. The Issaquah School District has a dual language program, which is housed at the Issaquah Valley Elementary. And there's a process for registration for that. The dual language, oh, I don't have that on here. The dual language is Spanish and English, okay? So new students to IVE, Issaquah Valley, will automatically be asked if they would like to be considered for the dual language program when they register. If you're a parent or if you have a child from one of the other 15 schools, if your child is a native Spanish speaker, please contact one of us or email me or go and look into the dual language program if you're interested. So if you have a child currently in grades 5, kindergarten first, second, and you're interested in enrolling the program and you're a native Spanish speaker, please email this number or call this number. If your Spanish is not your native language, you can be put in the wait list, but I'm going to tell you right now that the wait list is pretty long with mainly the Issaquah Valley families. So it would be harder to come into, but you're always welcome to do so. So mainly it is for native Spanish speakers have a higher likelihood to be accepted in the dual language program in kindergarten, first and second grade at this time. So applications for the dual language program were due on March 11th, but if you're a native Spanish speaker again, you can still turn it in. For the English speakers or non-native language Spanish speakers, the program lottery will take place on March 30th. And yes, on Wednesdays, there is a half day. So on Wednesdays, the day is from 9:15 until 1:30. Okay, 1:30. Thank you. So it's a full day, Monday, Tuesday, and all students in the school district have a half day on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the half day Wednesday is different in elementary school versus middle and high school. So just note that also if you have children in kindergarten and also if you have children in the secondary schools.
And on Wednesdays, even though the kids go home earlier, they still have lunch at school.
It's the kids' favorite day. My daughter absolutely loves Wednesdays and has since kindergarten. So as I said earlier, the ML or the ELL program, it's multilingual learners, so English language learners. And there are almost 2,000 students in the Issaquah School District, kindergarten to 12, who receive ELL services. And in that program, a certificated teacher supports the students at all of the schools. The students are supported in their regular classroom, or sometimes they may be pulled out for a short period of time to work in small groups with the English language teacher. The eligibility is based on a test called the WIDA. It's a screener. And the WIDA tests the students in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Because very often we find that the student might be able to speak or to understand English, but sometimes they are behind on their reading and writing skills. Kindergarten, sometimes it's harder to note because many kids are on the same level, but it depends, it sometimes becomes more pronounced at the higher levels for second, third grade, but there's a screener that it does test for all of this in all the different grade levels. When you are new into the school system, they do the screener in kindergarten, or if you're new into the school system, let's say 4th or 5th grade, they'll do it as you, and you're identified as a family that might need to take the screener, then you take the screener as you join the school. Students are then exited when they meet the requirements, and the program is designed to support students to develop their English academic language proficiency so that they can be successful in learning and engaging in school content. And I'll just mention that sometimes in middle school, students could listen and speak English, but then when they came to content, because English was not their first language, content and academic language for, let's say, math and in science, sometimes they struggled. And so the English language learning program or the multilingual learner program really helped could help some of those students with the development of the academic language skills. Yes, we will be talking about lunch, no worries. So kindergarten preparedness.
So a question that parents often ask is, what can I do to help get my child ready for kindergarten? And there's lots that you can do, but again, please be reassured that wherever your child falls in their academic and social emotional journey, they will be accepted into our ISD schools, and your kindergarten teachers will support them wherever they might be. Some things that you can do, and this flyer was sent out with your kindergarten registration packets. And if you would like to access it again, it's also on that website that Lorna pulled up earlier with the kindergarten registration links. And so one thing that you can really work on the top here, you see that top rectangle with independence and health skills to develop before starting school. These are skills that will really help them feel successful and be independent when they first start kindergarten. So simple things like using the toilet. For some kids, going to school with a big public restroom can be scary. So if you feel comfortable when you are out and about, having them be comfortable going into a bathroom stall by themselves. And sometimes the big toilet at school, the public restrooms are a little louder. So just telling them it might make a lot of noise, but it's safe. You're safe in the bathroom. A lot of times kindergartners are afraid of that big bathroom, but they get used to it.
They want to.
Yeah, it's so loud.
Yes.
I just reassure them you're not going to fall in. It's not scary. It's just really loud. Hand washing is something that they could practice that will really help to keep them safe. A lot of times kids put the soap on their hand and then they just rinse right away. So just practicing wetting your hands and then getting soap and then scrubbing. They could sing happy birthday or count to 20 if they're able to. And a lot of times too, when they use the bathroom, and you'll see a picture of what the bathrooms look like, they'll be leaving the classroom to use the bathroom and wash their hands. So we're not able to ensure that they're always washing properly. So if you can teach them that skill before school, it'd be really great. How to blow their nose independently. Another thing is just having them practice packing their backpack by themselves. One thing that kids are really excited about starting school, I get to use a new backpack. And so having them practice putting their backpack on by themselves, zipping it up, practice putting books or a folder in there, that will really help them. When you think about a classroom, you might have 18 to 20 kids and one teacher, sometimes a teacher and an aide. It's really difficult when there's kids who can't zip up by themselves. And so the kids who can put on their backpack, put on their coats, pack their backpacks independently, they feel really proud about that. Another thing that could be really helpful is having them open their snack and food containers independently. Now that they're 4 and 5 years old, their fingers are coordinated and strong enough to start opening those on their own. And it does take teaching, showing them where to pinch and where to pull, but they can do it. When they come to school, they'll have a snack time. And so if they are able to open their snacks during snack time, if they're able to open their food containers during lunch, that means they have more time to eat, right? So teach them to open up their snacks, open up their food containers. It helps them feel independent and successful, and it gives them more time to eat. Another thing that would be really helpful is starting a consistent bedtime routine and morning routine before school starts. It's just starting school is a really big change. And so if you can get them used to going to bed at a consistent time, doing what your morning routine, whatever that might look like for your family, to get them used to going to school. So many changes during that time. Then on the bottom, you will see different areas that you could work on and skills you could work on. And again, these are suggestions. If you want to start working on them, it's great if they start building these skills, but they will continue to build upon these skills when they enter kindergarten, and our curriculum will cover these aspects. One thing I do want to point out though that really empowers kids is having them be able to write their name. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Their letters might be out of order, but if they can start to write their name, that helps them feel really successful, because when they come to school, there are going to be multiple times a day where their teacher is going to say, write your name and then do your work. And that's something they can feel good about. And in the classroom, the teacher will have different areas labeled with their name. So if they can identify and know that that's their name, they'll be more able to find their spot in the classroom, or where to hang up their coat and backpack, where to find their book bin, and just feel really successful.
Just a note, we will cover more information about recess, snacks, and lunch later on, but most kids have 2 snack times. Some teachers sometimes give them 3, but in most grades, most teachers do at least 2 snack times. And I would recommend that you pack your snack separately than your lunch, because a lunch gets put in a big wagon that then gets rolled. And no worries, by the way, if you don't remember all of this, again, your kindergarten teacher will really help you understand all of this during the meeting and remind you of this. But just keep in mind that it'll be at least 2 snack times and 1 lunch time. But one of the things I would also recommend and I want to point out is, to help your child get ready for kindergarten in September, I would try to highly encourage you to teach them how to eat on their own. As a dean of students for several years at an elementary school, one of the things I noticed the most is sometimes students would sit down and they get super distracted and they don't remember to feed themselves and eat. And, they'll just be sitting down and looking around because there are a lot of distractions in the room. So they're looking at everything and they forget to eat. And then, the lunch has gone. And then the families get upset because, but my child didn't have enough time to eat. And you're like, well, your child did have time to eat. It's just that they weren't eating. So I would help your child sit down and just say, okay, you have 20 minutes. Let's start eating. Focus, eat, continue eating. You only have this much time. So just kind of get them into the routine and the concept of, you have this set time to eat. No one is going to come and remind you to eat. You have to eat and be done at this time on your own. And also focus on the idea that your child needs to be able to open their container, eat, and then clean up and put it away. So those are some of the routines you can help your child to be more successful. So they are, eating during their lunchtime, that they have enough time to pack their lunch and everything. So teach those kinds of skills before September. So those are some skills you can do at home between now and September to help your child be the most successful. Your child will carry a backpack, but the backpack honestly has 1 folder. They will carry pencils or something and their lunch bag and snacks. So that's what their backpacks have. There are no textbooks that they have. And then we'll show you photos in the classroom and how that works in the classroom in more detail. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and with a backpack, just make sure they have really small, cute ones, but those don't always work. So buying a backpack that fits a standard size folder would be perfect.
And also, Lori, can you remind families, the switching from full day to half day, it's 1 time a year, right?
Yes. If you choose to have half day kindergarten, you will have the option to switch into full day, but you can't switch after that. You can only switch it once. Okay.
And I believe the same thing with full day. You can switch once to a half day, but that's it. One change during the course of the year. Okay. So one of the things to also note is sometimes children in who are 5 years old who start school might have some health concerns or have some disabilities. So we have health plans. We have a 504 plan. So students with asthma, diabetes, vision, hearing, sometimes even ADHD or ADD, depending on how it is impacting the child, your child might be eligible for a 504 plan. And here is some information from the OSPI, which is the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, which is basically the umbrella of the group that manages schools in Washington State, telling you what a 504 is. So if you have any concerns, talk to your child's school counselor, or maybe you want to talk to your child's pediatrician based on what kind of disability or need your child has, to see if it would be appropriate for your child to have a 504 plan. Hearing and vision are some of the ones that we see more commonly. We do see some asthma, diabetes, sometimes severe allergies also qualify for it. So it really depends. I can't tell you all of what will qualify because it's also case dependent on your child's specific need. But I wanted to let you know that this is a conversation that's critical to your child's success and health. And we don't want it to be a stigma that if your child has any kind of disability, because in some cultures, disabilities are viewed as a stigma. We want to make sure that you feel safe and supported, that you are willing and able to come and talk to this child's school counselor or this child's teacher to see what does that mean and how can we best partner with you. That's what the school is trying to do, partner with our families to support the child. Stacy?
Hi, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just excited to spend a little bit of time just letting all of you know that while this presentation is for kindergarten for your 5-year-olds, in our district, we have preschool programs as well that serve 3 and 4-year-olds. So you might have a younger child at home, and just wanted you to be aware that we have a variety of programs, and it really is based on just different needs that the student has. So we've got a website that you can come and visit, and it explains all of our programs in more detail. Some are tuition-based. They are just a preschool that the Issaquah School District has. However, if you are a family that is low income or has a financial, you qualify for free and reduced lunch. I'm not sure if we're going to go into what that means or not. We do have free preschool for 3 and 4-year-olds after a screening process. And you're going to hear pretty soon about transitional kindergarten. We are just going to launch that application next week. And that is going to be for 4-year-olds that demonstrate a financial, academic, or social emotional need. And that's exciting because they will be coming to school as a 4-year-old for a full year prior to entering kindergarten. So there's a screening process for that as well. And we are just really excited to support all of our students, whether they have a disability or just some kind of need. We want to just set our students up for success so that they're ready to go when kindergarten starts. So there's a lot of information there. If you have a concern about your child, if you suspect a disability or you're just curious about that, we also have a program called Child Find, and it's a free screening that the district does, and they can help kind of identify if there is an additional need there. So we'll just encourage you to check that out, and I'm always available if you've got questions.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Someone asked me a question about the dimension of, thank you so much, Stacy, about the information about the elementary. I have a couple questions in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and wait so we keep on the flow of this. So as Stacy said, we have several different programs for early childhood. And one of the programs that we have is ECE, Early Childhood Education. And that program is mainly to support students who have special education needs and who require special education services. And so for those children, they have something known as an IEP. And an IEP is an individualized education plan. So students who have an IEP in preschool, as they're coming into the school, then that IEP follows with them into the school. If your child is coming from another school system or another preschool and they have a IEP at the other preschool, that IEP still follows them. So if the school knows that your child has an IEP between now and school starting, a case manager, a special education teacher will contact you and work with you about any kind of program, needs, services that your child might need. Many of you might be unfamiliar with the special education program. And a special education program pretty much is for supports for families, for children who have a learning disability very often, and sometimes it can be some other learning needs. And for that, they serve students with disabilities from birth through 21, and all schools have special education programs. Special education services include individualized, specially designed instruction and academic, self-help, communication needs sometimes, motor, vocational, and social skills areas. So sometimes kids need more support in social skills. So that might be a situation also, a need that your child might have. So this is one of the things you might be already talking to your child's pediatrician about, or you've noticed that your child might need some additional support. So one of the big things is to really communicate such things with your child's teacher, especially at the family connections meeting, if you're seeing something or if you have these concerns, because that's where we really start with that partnership and that communication between the parent and the school. So it's also better to start the conversation and be proactive rather than wait for the school to notice something, just because it just moves a lot smoother. And then this way, it's not like, is this something to be concerned about, So it's easier for the school to start taking action if the parent is the one kind of driving the entire process. So note that the schools are your partner in your child's development, and we are here to serve you. And that special education in the United States is not a stigma. So students who have special education needs or need special education supports and services, please make sure that you are communicating that with us so we can do everything we can to best support and serve your child. All schools in the Issaquah School District, also all schools at the elementary school, have a school counselor. And the school counselor role is very different at the schools. It's not for mental health counseling, but they can do that. One of the things they do is also they foster good relationships between peers, parents, teachers, and other important people in the child's life. Between kindergarten and 5th grade, there's a high likelihood that your child will have some kind of friendship issue, or maybe something on the playground or something in the classroom, or some issue, and the school counselor might talk to him or her, or they might work with the school counselor in small groups. School counselors also visit in elementary school all the classrooms to do lessons on social emotional learning. It is not a stigma, again, in the United States for students to see or talk to a school counselor regarding social emotional development. And it encourages the learners to adopt a more positive attitude towards school and learning process. Sometimes at schools, they have peer group meetings, dependent on the different type of peer group needed. I know that when my daughter started school many years ago at her school at that time, they had like a peer group for students who might have lost a loved one or something. So, or students who might want to foster relationships or meet friends. And so based on what the counselor is hearing from different students, sometimes she will try to set up small groups to talk to kids about similar issues, and also it helps build community. So school counselors help the students with maybe communication skills and helps them successfully develop effective decision-making strategies. Maybe she'll work with them on some strategies and ideas and how they can make on decision-making if there's any kind of conflict or if there's any kind of concern. So school counselors also will address physical development tasks, personal concerns, crises, peer conflicts, maybe a dysfunctional home environment, ill health, physical disabilities, and offers helpful solutions. So sometimes there are so many things going on in our lives, in the child's lives, and it's very hard for them to focus and work on their education because of all these other things also happening. And the school counselor is there to be the support along with the classroom teacher to help the child learn some strategies and how to cope with these tasks, how to have some ways to manage the emotions and work with others at the school. Behavior and social skills in the US. Lori?
So as Lorna mentioned, we have wonderful counselors in our district to support our child's social and emotional well-being, but also in the classroom, every child will have access to our social emotional curriculum. It's something I love about our schools. We're not just reading, writing, math, science, social studies, but we support the child's behavior and social skills, so the whole child. Some skills that they'll learn at the very beginning is walking feet, having a space bubble, keeping hands to yourself, no touching or rough play at recess. This is something that the kids need to work on, because when they're at home, they're used to roughhousing and pushing and shoving, which is okay at home, right? But when you come to school on the playground, we need to keep hands to self. So oftentimes at the beginning of the school year, kindergarten teachers are teaching kids, maybe at home with your brothers and sisters, you have rough and tumble play. But when you come to school, we need to, and there's lots of kids, we keep our hands to ourselves to keep ourselves safe. We also have a curriculum called Second Step, and it's a curriculum they will have from kindergarten through 5th grade. And we teach social skills. So at the beginning, they'll learn behaviors for learning. So teaching them, how do we focus? How do we look and listen? How do we share our ideas? We also learn about managing emotions, what our different emotions are and what we can do to calm down. And we also learn how to problem solve, right? Kids, adults, anyone, being humans, we get into conflict sometimes. So we work through different problem solving strategies to really support our kids. And something that's really helpful, so with our Second Step social emotional curriculum, we have these home link newsletters. So definitely check your child's newsletters from their teacher. They'll send home links with visuals and questions that you can ask your child. And really, it would be helpful if you could use that common vocabulary, the same words. For example, for listening, your child will learn eyes watching, ears listening, voice quiet, body still. So you could use those words at home when you want them to really sit and listen to you. When they learn to manage strong feelings, we teach them to stop, name your feeling, and calm down. And when your child learns these strategies, this information will be shared with you. So you can start using that same vocabulary at home, at school to reinforce that. And it's really amazing. Even little kindergartners, they'll start utilizing these calm down strategies and showing these empathy and problem solving skills.
Thank you, Lori. And one of the things for me in working with elementary schools, I was not familiar with space bubbles, because in middle and high school, the kids already knew how to keep their hands and feet to themselves, or, crisscross applesauce, or walking feet. A lot of these words were unfamiliar to me as someone who had not been to school in the elementary school. And so in working at elementary school, I was very impressed to see a lot of these soft skills that students learn and really carry with them. And so once I learned them, it was helpful for me as a parent to use that same vocabulary to reinforce what the child was learning at school. So I was helping the teachers and the school and maintaining that kind of continuity at home with the child. And that is another way the schools and the families are partnering up as they use a common vocabulary back and forth to reinforce the learning.
And so behavior expectations, each school will have 3 big expectations that they reiterate over and over. For Clark, for example, it's be safe, be kind, and be productive. Some other schools have similar things, like at IVE, they say be safe, be responsible, and be respectful, but same thing, different words, right? And so using that same vocabulary at home will be really helpful. Here are some, you see on this first poster here, fair ways to play, like trading or taking turns, and problem solving steps. That comes from our Second Step curriculum. I had a comment in the chat and they would love to see some of that beforehand. You can definitely check out Second Step website. You can look at their scope and sequence. You can see a lot of the posters that we'll use for teaching on their website. And then when your child starts learning these skills, each week when it's introduced, you'll get that home link newsletter with the exact sentences and phrases to use. I have a parent that just wrote in the chat and said that they want to post it on the refrigerator, which is such a great idea. And so definitely, if you want some of that information beforehand, just email me or Lorna. I can send you some of that in advance. But just having them used to that language is really great. Another thing that we talk about is voice levels. This is actually one of our social studies lessons. So we talk about outside voice, right? We don't want kids yelling in the classroom. So starting to think about using an outside voice, a really loud yelling voice outside, not inside. And a teacher voice, so that would be like a strong speaker voice. When you're standing in front of your class and sharing an idea, you need to project your voice so all of your classmates can hear. And then using table voice, which means you're just talking to the people near you or on your table. Practicing a whisper voice can be really helpful. We want kids to use their whisper voice sometimes. And level 0, it would be silence. And teachers use this verbiage, voice levels in their classroom. When they go to the cafeteria, their cafeteria teachers are reminding them, okay, level 4, no level 4 voices, or okay, level 0, silence as we clean up for to get ready for recess.
Okay, thank you. And those are really helpful skills just because it helps reinforce, especially for kids who might not be used to it. And so I know you talk about table voice, whisper voice when my girls were younger. That really helped me. We might be in a restaurant. I'm like, girls, it's table voices now. So it just kind of reinforces the behavior. And also, so this way, when they're at the lunchtime in school, if it's too loud, you're not just helping your child, but you're helping everyone around you. If the kids are using a table voice, because the cafeteria otherwise can get much too loud if kids are speaking at loud volumes, and then they will be reminded to use table voice. So we just want to teach them ahead of time sometimes, or just reinforce some of these messages. Each school has a school nurse, and the school nurse works in the health room area along with the health room specialist. And the school nurse is very helpful and should be informed if your child has any life-threatening condition at all. And this is per Washington state law. An emergency care plan needs to be in place for the school before the child can attend school if they have any kind of life-threatening condition, such as a severe allergy, diabetes, severe asthma, severe seizure disorder, cardiac condition, adrenal insufficiency. So if your child has a life-threatening condition, please contact the school nurse at your child's school. When you register, you can have a conversation with them as to how best the school can support your child. Again, this goes back to school and home partnership. The school is always looking for ways to partner with families. Also teach your child that if they are feeling ill or they get hurt at school, to talk to an adult, to let someone know so they can be sent to the health room. I know that I had forgotten, I think, to reinforce and give that message to my child on occasion, because I remember once my child hit themselves in the belly and she came home and she had a big scratch through her shirt. And I'm like, baby, why didn't you tell somebody? And she's like, no one was there. No one sent me. I didn't know to ask. So just how do we teach our children, like if you get hurt at school and if no one sees you, it is still important that you tell someone so that you can go to the school nurse and they can support you. And if something happens to your child, the school will contact you. Sometimes they'll give you a call and say it's so-and-so happened, and you need to come in if something, if your child needs to be picked up, or they might send you a note saying your child fell on the playground and, they clean the area and put a Band-Aid or something like that. Or sometimes, they'll hit their head just as they're playing with something, nothing major where they would have to have more information and then call a parent to come home for whatever reason. But they will maybe give an ice pack or put an ice pack on a leg or something. So there are different ways the schools will support your child, but a school nurse and a health room specialist will be working at all the schools. And just a note for you, a health room specialist is not a medical professional. They are para-educators, so they are just classified staff who have additional training on what to do in the health room. But the school nurse is a certified nurse that works in the school. A registered nurse is what I should say. Immunization. So there are immunizations that your child needs to have before they start school. And note that they have to have certain immunizations before the first day of school. Okay, and CIS, the certification of immunization, needs to be submitted to the school, and that certificate of immunization should be done electronically. And there's a video that the district school nurse has posted on the website, so you can learn more information about it. There's also information in different languages regarding that. How to get the immunization records is also posted on here. So all of this information is listed on the school website to help you better understand what the requirements are for immunizations at the school. Specialist teachers. Lori?
So specialist teachers are different teachers you'll hear. Specialist teacher is PE, so physical education, music, and library. And your teacher will share the schedule with you at Family Connection meetings or before that. So they get to go to PE twice a week. They love it. They go to the gym or go outside and they run and exercise and play games. Usually the kids say their favorite part of the day is PE. And they'll get to go to the music class twice a week. They'll sing songs, get to explore different instruments depending on their grade level. And then library once a week. And so with library, probably not the first couple of weeks of school, but eventually they'll start taking home a library book to borrow each week. And so it's really important that you read the book and reread lots of times, enjoy the book, but send it back to school on the specified date that your teacher will tell you. So usually you can keep it home for a week, but they have to bring back that book to borrow a new one. And of course, if the kid goes to library and they're one of the only ones that didn't bring back their library book, they get a little sad because they can't check out a new one until the previous book was returned. You might also hear the word para or paraprofessional. Those are trained classroom aides that help the school in so many different ways. Each kindergarten classroom is assigned a paraprofessional. That teacher doesn't spend the whole day with the classroom, but will spend about 2 to 3 hours in the classroom supporting the students and teacher. And you'll also find paras in the lunchroom. Those are the wonderful trained aides that are helping your kids in the lunchroom, out at recess. You'll see them welcoming your kids as they come to school, as they go home, as they get on and off the bus. They are a really important part of our school community. And again, that weekly schedule will be sent to you at the beginning of the school year. And it will be really helpful to just keep in mind on days that they're going to PE to wear comfortable clothes. Sometimes the girls like to wear fancy heels, right? Fancy strap-on heels, but it becomes very difficult when they are going to PE and they're running laps and playing games.
And thank you for addressing that, Lori. A parent asked if they need special clothes for PE, and the answer is no. But I know that I make note of what days my child has PE, and I can just quickly make sure she has tennis shoes on that day and something, not a dress. And if she has a dress, putting bike shorts underneath it, but some kind of comfortable clothes so that she can play at PE, or she can run around in the MPR or the PE room that they use during that time. And going back to para-educator, very often children don't identify a para-educator as not a certificated classroom teacher. They don't understand these nuances. And so they'll refer to every adult in the building as the teacher often. So there's a classroom or the certificated teacher, which is a classroom teacher, is the music PE, and the librarian is also actually a certificated teacher. And then we have para-educators, aides that help in the classroom or library or in PE or in the lunchroom or in the health room, okay? So there's a difference of certificated staff and classified staff in each building. So here's a photo of the library. Lori, do you want to continue?
Yeah, so wonderful thing is that the kids will get to go to the library once a week with their class. And again, they'll get to borrow a library book, and really helping to remind them to return that library book each week so that they can borrow a new one. They will get to choose what kind of book they get to check out. it would be really great that you could read to them. And something we work on in kindergarten is that we read books and then we reread them multiple times and we enjoy our favorite stories. And as you read books with kids, you can also have them read to you. They don't have to be able to read words to tell a story. You can have them look at the pictures and tell you a story using that. And that would be something they work on in the classrooms too for our reading curriculum. Another thing we love parent volunteers. Well, during COVID, we don't have very many volunteers, but it would be great if you could consider volunteering in your schools. One of the things that we would really appreciate, the librarians really appreciate parent or community volunteers coming in, and they help with checking the books in and out, maybe reshelving books. Some parents, they want to help out the school, but they don't feel comfortable working with kids. So if you feel like you want to help in the school, but don't feel comfortable working with a group of kids, this could be something you could start off with. But also come into the classrooms and work with the kids. You don't have to be afraid of them. You would do great. And the Scholastic Book Fair. This is something I remember as a young girl growing up. Once a year, this big Scholastic Book Fair comes to school, and each school hosts this book fair, and it's actually a fundraiser. So the books that are sold during this time, money goes back to the schools to support your classrooms. Flyers will be sent home. We will open our doors so parents actually can come in. It looks a little different at each school, but parents can come in after school to browse the book fair with their child and pick out books to buy. And there are some really great prices too. There's a lot of books that are $1 or $5, really great deals and lots of fun.
And one of the things is if your child cannot or does not check out a book from the school library, they very often borrow books from the classroom teacher. And the Scholastic Book Fair is a way that sometimes, depending on how many students are purchasing books, funds are donated to classrooms so that this classroom teacher can then have money and access to buy books for his or her classroom. So the Scholastic Book Fair really helps teachers increase the number of books in their school, in their classroom libraries, which very often students use, or they borrow books, or they read during the course of the day sometimes, depending on if they have time and what the schedule for the classroom day looks like.
Yeah, when you go to the book fair, there'll be a section where it says teacher wish list, and teachers will have little tickets with books they really want for their classroom. So if you want to buy one for the class, you just take the book title, purchase it, and your child can gift that book to the class. And there's a little label too, so they'll write their name. So I still have lots of books in my classroom library, and every time I read it to my class, I'm like, oh, this was a book from Lincoln. He was in my kindergarten class 4 years ago. So just something nice if you would like to get books for your students' class.
And here's the elementary school gym space. All students will do PE twice a week with a teacher who's identified as the PE teacher. Sometimes there's one, sometimes two for the school. And the students come into the PE the room and work with the teacher for about 30 minutes, 2 days a week. And then it's a great time because the teacher also helps students learn how to play various sports and different games. So they don't have a bowling alley, I'm sure, obviously at Sunset Elementary School. But this week, my daughter's super excited because they're doing bowling in PE class. And so different days, different weeks, the teachers have different sports or games that they work with the students and make it a fun, interactive time of the day that kids love. Here's a music classroom. Each elementary school has a music teacher or two, sometimes 1.5, like one person works part-time, depending on the size of the school, that does music lessons with them. The students will sing, they will learn some songs. Some years they play and learn an instrument. I think it's 3rd or 4th grade year. It has to be 3rd grade, maybe it's 4th grade that they do recorder, but you will definitely remember that time when they're learning to play the recorder because they bring their recorder home, which is like a little flute, and they learn how to play it. And it's a lot of fun. And very often pre-COVID times, but I'm hoping that once things get better, we go back to having a music concert. But the school would usually host 2 or 3 music concerts where all the students would perform with their class, and each classroom would learn different songs or parts of songs and perform in the MPR room. They're wonderful times. So once things settle down, hopefully we can go back to those days. Playground for recess. Lori, do you want to get this?
Yeah, so playground for recess, the kids will get to go outside to play, pretty much rain or shine, to recesses.
If I'm wrong.
Oh, see someone's there we go. So they'll get to go outside to run and play twice every day, rain or shine. There are covered areas for them to go out and play. Sometimes they'll call indoor recess if there's severe weather. So it's really great, especially on rainy days, if they come with a coat that they can wear. Just another thing, especially during the spring, the kids start getting warmer outside. So they lose their jackets, they start getting warm and they lose their jackets out on the playground. So it would be really great if on the inside, you could write their name. That way, if it goes to the lost and found, there's more of a chance that it'll make its way back to your child. And in addition to going outside to play every day, they have an hour of play in their classroom as well. And there with the arrow are wonderful paraeducators who are there to assist and monitor in the lunchroom and outside at recess.
And in kindergarten, the hour of play is purposeful play. And so the teacher has, some ideas and specific things that they might be using. And it's part of the Washington State Kids kindergarten program, part of the funding they gave to schools to do kindergarten full-time. And it's free, because before WA Kids kindergarten program, parents would have to pay for kindergarten, and parents no longer have to do that. We appreciate that from the Washington State, that support and funding for our students. The MPR room. So a lot of parents had questions about this. So this is the lunchroom, and this is what our lunchroom looks like. And the students sit at these long tables to eat lunch. The lunch trays, so a lot of people were asking questions. This year and last year, because of COVID, because of you getting COVID pandemic aid, the lunch was free. If students, if of your family qualifies, you can apply and you can see if you qualify for the free and reduced lunch program. However, normally students, if you don't qualify, you would have to pay for lunch. The lunch application for the free and reduced program is on the website. Now, when students pay for lunch, it's approximately $354 for a meal, and then they can pick up their meal when they go into the lunchroom. So right here are the windows you can see where all the lunch trays will be listed. Now, a lot of kids, and I know I do this for my child, especially this month, she was very curious because she wanted to get a school lunch. The school lunch menus are posted on the website. The school lunches, it shows you some of, this year it's all free, but normally it was a 3 something. So the month of March, this is what the school lunch looks like. So my daughter has, I believe, marked the 25th that she plans on eating school lunch. And right now, which it's free, so I don't have to make sure that she has money in her lunch account. But normally what you would do is you would put money in your lunch account, and I'll show you where that is in a minute. We don't know yet if school lunch is going to be free because of the pandemic next year, or if we'll go back to families paying for lunch. And for the school lunch program, usually you put money in their account and then they go through the line. And when they go through the line, then they will, the money will be automatically deducted from their lunch account. And then when the account goes down, they have a little PIN number that they remember. They just say their PIN, enter their PIN number on a pad as they're going through. And then you can also see if when they're buying their lunch, to keep track online. All of this is kept track online. But well, I lost my train of thought because I had saw another thing. Yeah, so the school lunch menu. Okay, so here is where you can see the meals. And for the lunch account, you're going to go to lunch and you will see that there's a site that says My Lunch Bucks. So you will go to My School Bucks and that's where you can put your money in. And then of course, this one shows you what your, helps you know what your child's PIN number is and what your account balance is in their lunch account. And that information is also stored in something called Family Access. So when you filled out your application, the enrollment form, you filled out information into a system called Family Access, and you're going to have a login that you will get. You already probably have it, but in August, you'll get a different login for you to complete your enrollment verification process. But in Family Access, one of the tabs will be some information to help you find out your school lunch account, and the instructions on how to find that. It's too much information right now, honestly. Don't worry about this part. In August, September, you will learn more about this. And you just know if you're looking at lunch accounts, come here to get that information. And school food allergies. If your child has allergies to certain foods in the cafeteria, they have assigned some tables for the kids to use for students who have allergies. You can enroll in the lunch account during EVP. So remember I talked about EVP, enrollment verification process that happens in August. During that August EVP, you have an opportunity to put money into your school lunch account. So if you plan on having your child buy school lunch, I would recommend you do that in August. One of the great things about the school district, because your child is going to be in the same school district from kindergarten till 12th grade, most likely, you can put money in there and that money just follows your child every year. So they don't use it this month, it's still there next month. So when my child first started in elementary school, she loved school lunch. She'd buy school lunch all the time. So I kept on having to put money, but every month, every time I put money in, they charged me $250. So that annoyed me. So one day I just got upset and I just deposited a couple $100. But she decided at that point to stop eating lunch. And so I know, shocking. And because, she was a grown-up 4th and 5th grader. So she stopped doing school lunches. And then that money just sat in the account forever and ever. And I was like, should I get it back or what should I do? But I'm like, let's see what happens in middle school. Come middle school, she was super happy because in middle school, there are a lot more lunch options. She started buying money again. The money was in her account for middle school. Now I put money in her account still. She's off lunch, buying lunches again. In this kick right now, making her own lunches. No worries. She's in 8th grade. That money is going to continue on with her to high school. If she'd never eaten lunch and you just decide, hey, I'm tired of this money sitting there, you can always ask for the school and the school will send you a check and give you that money back. So no worries about it. So you can put money in that account and that money is for your child and it just rolls over month by month, year by year, and then you can get it back if you ask or when your child graduates from high school. They have meatless options as we talked about. And when you click on the school website, and if you look at the digital menu, you can get a lot of information as to what those meals are looking like. They have like a digital menu, kind of interactive section in here. Digital menu, big words and I missed it. So then you just talk about what your school is and then find the menu for the elementary school. And so now you're going to look at the menu with a lot more details. It's going to talk about what's available. So every single day, your child has a main entree. So let's say on Tuesday, the first was a lasagna. On Wednesday, this is something special they do sometimes on Wednesdays. They do breakfast for lunch, Dutch waffle with turkey sausage patty. My daughter loves it. On Thursday, it was pizza. On Friday, it was corn dog. But you'll notice that every single day, they also have the option for meatless item, which is the yogurt lunch or the baked potato bar. Okay.
And the yogurt lunch also comes with a bagel.
Oh, wonderful. And then they have a vegetable every single day that they'll give, a fruit. that they give. And so there are many things that they have, and you can see the whole menu for your child online. You can see the food over here. So the fruits, and I think it's over here, the peas are individually wrapped, the fruit over here. They can get a regular milk or a chocolate milk. And then there's a lunch lady or lunch assistant who will give them their trays. And then they'll come to the side where they'll put their little PIN number as they leave. The first couple months, I would strongly recommend you have them take lunch, unless you really have to have them buy lunch, just because the first month and a half or so, the lines are very long. So it's really hard for them to be in line, and they lose time because they're in long lines. But by like December, January, the lines are much shorter, and they in and out of the line in like 5-10 minutes. But if you don't want them to wait in a long line, especially kindergartners, and they're getting used to it, send a bag lunch the first couple of weeks at least if you can, just to help them manage the lunchroom. Just FYI, sometimes lunchrooms can be loud. So just help your child understand that and get used to that concept. And then remind them, sit them down with a tray of food and say, eat. Don't help them, don't touch them as much as possible, and see how are you doing, and then encourage them. But you're just kind of training them to eat, because there is a lunch monitor who walks around, but remember, she's monitoring 2, maybe 3 classes. So they're very, very wonderful, but they just can't make sure that every child is eating and remembering to eat. So some kids sometimes forget to eat because they're so distracted, or they're talking to their friends, or so excited to be in the lunchroom with their friends. So just do that little training if you can. Okay, kindergarten transportation. So for full-time kindergarten students, full-day kindergarten students, they will ride the same bus as the other students. No worries, they have preferential seating. They usually sit within the first 2-3 rows of the school bus. Half-day kindergarten students will ride the bus in the morning, but in the midday, transportation will not be provided, and the parent or guardian is responsible for picking them up. There is a kindergarten release form. Hopefully you saw that during registration. Please make sure you fill that out, because it's important, because it shows us who the bus driver will release the child to. And you have to be on that list for the child to be able to get off the bus to the parent. So if you want your nanny or your grandparent to pick up your child from the bus, make sure they're on that list. And if that changes, anyone you could possibly think you might ask, make sure they're on the list, because they will not let a kindergartner off the bus unless the designated adult is there to pick them up. Also, if you can, there's a little section to send a photo of your child. Please try to upload and send that photo, because it's really helpful for those for the bus drivers the first couple of weeks of school as they're learning the kids. And when the kids are usually they're on the same bus, say they have the same bus drivers, even sometimes several years in a row, the bus drivers really learn the kids. So it's easy for them to know who the kids are. But that first year in kindergarten, it's really helpful. Note that there's a camera on the bus. I mentioned that there's preferential seating, and your route information. Your child, you will be able to find your child's route sometime in August. You can go to the website, the transportation website, and then you will be able to enter your child's name using this e-link. It's a link over here, your first name, last name. So all the instructions are over here. And that way you can look up your child's school bus information and your bus route, okay? So all of that information is on the website. So they used to send a little postcard to tell you what bus route and what address and all of that stuff. They don't do that anymore. Now, once you registered and sometime in mid-August, your bus route information, maybe even later on in August, your bus route information, you have to be proactive and go and look at that by doing this information. If you're not sure if there's a bus route, bus information for you, you can call transportation at this number, or you can look around your neighborhood to see, do you see an elementary school bus or kids waiting? Usually between 8:45 to 9 o'clock, are you seeing maybe even 8:40 to 9 o'clock, are you seeing kids around being picked up? That'll just help you know if there's a bus in your area or not. talk to people in your neighborhood or call this number to find out about that. But your actual bus route, you won't get that information. It won't be in the system. So it's not going to be in the system because they don't do all the bus scheduling and everything for next year until sometime in August. So it won't be in the system till then. Okay. There is something called the big yellow school bus. It's a ride along. If your child has never ridden a school bus before, it is very exciting. It's in August. The kindergartners all get to go to Issaquah High School, and then they all get to go with you. Of course, this is the first, this might be a time for you if you haven't been on a bus in a while or never. You and your child can ride along and learn what being on a school bus looks like. And siblings are also welcome to ride. It's very exciting. There's a lot of tears for me, you know, and then taking photos next to the school bus. But this is all part of getting them excited and getting them used to the idea of riding a school bus by themselves to school and the preparation. Now we have some photos that Lori and our communications department has provided us to help you see what classrooms look like. Don't be scared of this picture. It's mainly of like maybe the higher grade levels in elementary school. And also these photos are based on the fact that during COVID, we really had to change what classrooms look like because we had to make sure that there was more social distancing. There was no community gathering. And so a lot of the areas that the teachers used to have pre-COVID were taken away. But this is an example of what an elementary school classroom might look like. Here are examples of kindergarten classrooms. I'm going to let Lori do these.
Yeah, and don't worry, there's desks, but they're not sitting there all the time. They do work at their desk. They go to the carpet for story time. They work in small groups. They play. We do brain breaks and dances. So they are moving and grooving and learning all day long, not just sitting at a desk. Yeah, these are just some examples of our classroom. We also have small group areas. Your classroom will have play materials. Kids love visiting their classroom and saying, oh, my teacher has a dollhouse or my teacher has a play kitchen. And that's part of that hour of purposeful play in the afternoon. And again, class library, small group and whole group areas, and technology. Each kindergarten classroom also has laptops, sometimes iPads that they can use. This is an example of a kindergarten classroom and a library area. There's going to be a daily schedule and your teacher will share their daily schedule with you, but just to have an idea of what a day looks like. They come to school. Having kids come to school on time is really important. It really helps them just be set up for success. And in our district, we have morning meetings. So at the beginning of the school day, the class comes together. There's a morning meeting activity where they can talk and just build that community as they start their day. So coming to school on time has great benefits. We have reading centers, we have snack time and recess, we have phonics, writers workshop, readers workshop, and lunch and another recess to go outside and play. We have math, and each day they'll go to a different specialist, and you'll have centers in the afternoon. Some teachers call it purposeful play. Some teachers call it centers. Some teachers call it choice time. It's a playful learning time, that 1 hour of play. And it's a busy day. Your kids are probably going to be very tired at the end of the day, maybe sleeping on the bus when you go and pick them up.
So just a reminder that they will have a recess and a snack early in the day. And then usually the lunch and recess, the second recess is usually connected either before or after the lunchtime. And then here you can see the specialist is in the afternoon. So specialist is assigned to the same time usually every day. Sometimes it might vary. And then they have time to pack up because very often it takes some kids a long time to learn how to pack up. That's one of the things you can really help your child be ready for kindergarten. If they're playing at a table, say, okay, clean up, and then really teach them verbally, give them directions so they know how to clean up on their own, how they can pack up on their own. So really helping the teacher help your child build that independence on cleaning up, packing up, getting their jackets on, and all of those things really helps. And that is also as much as alphabet and numbers and everything, part of getting ready for kindergarten. So people were asking me about the size of the backpack. So you can see the size of the backpack. We want just the regular average size backpack. Nowadays, the little baby backpacks are very, I call them baby backpacks, they're not, but they're, more kind of, women might carry them on the back, fashionable backpacks. So they're much smaller. So don't have your child come with that, because just keep in mind that you want a regular folder, to fit in that backpack, and a regular size lunch bag to fit in that backpack. And you also want to make sure that you carry pack your child a water bottle. So you can see there's a water bottle in the side. So all of these things will go in their backpack. Here's a water bottle with the backpack. They're going to put their lunch in there, their folder, and then maybe a couple pencils or pens. But really, they're going to have their own space. Sometimes they might have bins for their space, or maybe some schools, they might have a desk that they can have a little box with their own supplies in their box. So they have these bins, you can't read it, but there are kids' names on there, because everything is labeled and what's your child's space and items and where your child gets to put their items. So this is labeled for your child, and it probably also has this there with them. We're almost done. The bathrooms, just a photo of the bathroom. Somebody asked, are there lunch buddies? It depends on how far away the not lunch buddies, bathroom buddies. Depends on how far away the bathroom is from the classroom, how comfortable your child is. But my daughters did not have a bathroom buddy in going to the bathroom. Lori, does your students have bathroom buddies?
Not typically, but there are a couple kids who get a little nervous or have a hard time finding their way back to the classroom. So for those kids, they'll go in pairs sometimes, but usually they're able to go alone. And the bathrooms are usually right outside or very near the classroom. And there's some kindergarten classrooms that actually have a bathroom in the classroom.
It depends on the school. So it's not all schools. And then also sometimes in kindergarten, children have accidents. And just FYI, school nurses, in the health room, they do have a change of clothes, and the teacher will send the child to the school nurse for the change of clothes and to clean themselves and to change their clothes. Before and after school care. If you're interested in the before and after school care program in the Issaquah School District, I would recommend that you sign up on the district website as now, because in nearly all of the schools, oops, my link is broken. So let's go here. Before and after school care. Before and after school care. Because nearly all of the schools, so all 16 schools have the program, but they're all full right now and they all have waiting lists. So when my child started school, right after I completed the registration, I did the before and after school care. I signed up to be on the wait list. And I was happy because in September I did get in. Sometimes some people don't quite get in right away. And so then they have to, so right now it already says the wait list because all of the schools are full, but you can put yourself on the wait list now, and there's more information about the wait list and to join the wait list. But if this is something important and you want to have your child go to the before and after school care, I would visit the site and then I put my name on the wait list so that you can do it. Incoming kindergarten students are not eligible. You're going to see some summer camp information. They're not eligible for summer camp. And you can put your name on the wait list now for this. So what's next? Lori, do you want to do this one?
Sure. So as you register, your schools will be reaching out to you to schedule an assessment or a screener. Don't worry about them passing or failing. We just want to know your child's incoming skills, thinking about literacy, so letter names, letter sounds, and numbers, so that we can build balanced classrooms and already have some information on how to support your child. There is a summer school opportunity for students who qualify for, so that screener gives us information on who to invite, which kids might need some extra help before starting kindergarten. Definitely mark your calendars for that August bus ride along event. Super fun. In August, towards the beginning of August, you'll get an email from your teacher or school to set up the meeting for family connections. I would also keep checking your school's website. Sometimes the PTA might have a special event to welcome their families in. And then the very first day of school, September 1st, and even after that, you will have a curriculum night. Some schools have it before the first day. Some schools have it a couple weeks after school starts, but you'll be invited to come in at night into the classroom and learn more about the curriculum in your grade level. And one of the parents asked about gifted testing. So in kindergarten and in second grade, all students have the COGAT test for the gifted and talented program. And you can find information on our district website. And this parent was wondering how to prepare. If you would like to help prepare your child for that test, check out our district website. There are some links and information on how you can prepare your child for that test. And basically all kids are screened for the test and they come in, it's done, your teacher administers the COGAT assessment, and then it's whole group, they go through this assessment, and I think about a few weeks later, you'll get the results in family access. And then you'll get your child's scores, and they may or may not be invited for the next round.
Thank you so much, Lori. And a couple other things is there are no school books, textbooks in kindergarten. So very often your child will just come home with maybe a worksheet, a piece of paper or something to do. But there's just note that's very different. You're going to see very little homework in kindergarten, first and second grade. Sometimes you might just get one worksheet, but very often your homework is reading, but you're not going to see too many books or any classroom kind of textbooks or any kind of like books, workbooks to fill out. So you will also, and curriculum night is very important because you'll get to get details on what your child is learning the course of the year. And teachers send out weekly newsletters, and the newsletter is really where you're going to learn more as to what your child is learning in class, since there are no books. And so that's one of the places where families struggle, because learning and what the child is learning at school is not very visible because there are no books to go along with it. So that's one of the places that families really struggle with trying to figure out what's happening in school in kindergarten. And at this time, we are finally done with our presentation. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I know that this was a long presentation. There's a lot of information to kind of process and go through. But just note that you will also get to speak to the teacher in August. You can replay this video. You can call a family partnership liaison. All of their contact information is available here. There are multiple. One of the things we just want to let you know and reassure you is there are a lot of resources for you to help you better understand the school and the system. A parent asked, what are some of the, if you have an older child and also starting the school, is there a new family, new to sixth grade, middle school, or whatever kind of program? And the answer is in August. We usually do a tips and resources for middle school parents, tips and resources for secondary school parents, but we do that event in August before the school year, since that's when we're anticipating having the most number of new families transfer into our school at that time. One of the other things I'd strongly recommend is also joining the PTA at your school, because over the summer, very often they do kind of school playground, kind of not play dates per se in someone's house, but just meetups. So they might meet up at a certain park near your neighborhood school or the school. If you have not, go to the Cultural Bridges magazine. That is also one of the resources on our district on my website. So if you go to the Cultural and Family Partnership website, One of the things to note is you can translate our pages in different languages, but you can also get to all of the schools from the ISD main site. But if you go to our site, I post all events here. So if you're looking for other events in August and next year, come and visit our site. It'll show you what events we have, upcoming events that we have. For example, in August, we have several different events to help our families, include online verification and the tips and resources one. Just also note that the recording and this entire slideshow, I will also post as soon as possible, closer probably to next week though. If you complete the feedback form, I will actually email it directly to you, but that information will be posted over here under kindergarten information sometime next week. And here are the resources. If you want to follow up and talk to one of us, you can also email me and I can give you Lori's information. Another good site to visit would be the elementary programs. And that's where you're going to get some of the links to early learning, early entrance, the dual language program, information about kindergarten registration. Lori, a parent asked in chat, what is the difference between transitional kindergarten and there was another kindergarten you mentioned?
So transitional kindergarten is a new program. We're actually just in our second year. Transitional kindergarten is a program for kids who don't have access to early learning experiences. So kids who are not in a preschool program. And so it's kids who are identified, show a need for extra support before entering kindergarten. So we basically give them some free preschool, free support before they enter kindergarten.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. There's another question of what is expected on kindergarten assessment. And one of the things to note is students are never expected to study for any of these assessments. So there's a difference between screeners and assessments. And the screeners are what we do in March to help place the kids. We want to make sure that, because we are, every year the school is getting anywhere from 80 to 100 new kindergartners. We want to make sure that the kids in any given class are not all, like, we want to make sure that students who might have certain needs, English language learners, or child who might be identified that needing special services, or students that have high needs, students who are at a certain level and academically, that it is a balanced class, that we have all different learners in that one class. So we don't have any one class too heavy with either ELL or special needs or highly capable kids. So we try to balance the class so that every class has a variety of kids in each of them. So it's definitely not a place to study like that's not an assessment at all. COGAT is very often when they take their COGAT for highly capable. Some families have their child learn or get extra tutoring. That's not what the district recommends. We just want to see where the child is at that point in time. It's a snapshot. Let's see. I'm going through the questions in the chat that people were only able to send to me.
Lorna, would you
Yes.
like to stop recording at this point?
Yes, thank you. So thank you very much, everyone. Make sure that if you have any questions, that you contact one of the liaisons or me. We're going to end the session at this point, and if you have any questions, we will stay on, and you are welcome to unmute. You're welcome.